If the time stops at 1:09 a.m., roll over and pray that they think you're asleep. The title basically says it all. If you're wondering who they are, well, that's the strange part. It's your family, or roommate, or whatever. I've never heard of this happening before, so I'm not sure what I can really do about it. Other than pretend I'm sleeping, of course. That's the only thing that really seems to keep them docile. Lemma explained what's been happening in a little more detail. This has been going on for the past 3 nights now. I didn't really think much of it the first night, because I honestly thought my family was pulling some prank on me. That is until last night, when I was attacked by my wife. The first night was a pretty early night for my wife Kelsey, and my twin boys Eric and Aaron. All of us were out cold by 9 p.m. We had a pretty long day of splitting wood to stock up for the upcoming winter. That night I woke up to an odd silence in the house. Like everyone had left and I was alone in the house. I grabbed my phone and checked the time. 1:09 a.m. I rolled over just to check if my wife was still sleeping, and when I found the bed empty, I sat up and looked around. The house was pitch black other than the hall light by my boys' room we left on, and with that dim light I could see 3 shadows cast along the hallway wall as my bedroom was left open. "Kelsey," I groggily called out. I could see all 3 shadows twitch at the sound of my voice, like they were startled. "Kels," I called a little louder. This time a shiver was sent down my spine as all 3 heads of the shadows looked in my direction. "What the fuck?" I whispered to myself, tossing the blankets off from me as I got up to investigate. I tiptoed to my door with a feeling of unease growing in the pit of my stomach. Once I got to the door, I peeked around and was pretty creeped out at what I saw. Kelsey and the boys were standing still as statues with their bodies turned towards the boys' room. Their necks, however, strained to stare directly at me. Huge smiles that looked painful to maintain plastered on all of their faces. "What the hell are you guys doing?" I asked with a chuckle, thinking they were playing a joke on me. Now that I think back, it didn't make much sense thinking they were joking. After all, why would they get up in middle of the night for that with no guarantee I'd even wake up? Their bodies made an unnatural twitch at the sound of my voice, which made me jump back in surprise. This was when I really started to think something might be wrong. A feeling of dread washed over me, and I began to sweat. Then the sound of the clock on the microwave beeping as if it reset rang through the house, made me jump in the air as I let out a startled yelp. My boys turned instantly and walked back into their room, Kelsey doing the same. Her smile disappeared and she walked by me like a zombie and crawled back in bed, snoring as if she were sleeping the whole time. Confused as hell, I walked back to my side of the bed and checked the time on my phone. "What the?" I said to myself as I noticed the time. 1:10 a.m. No way, only a minute had passed since I first woke up. It had to have been at a very minimum of 5 minutes. Still though, I shook it off and got back into bed, deciding to bring it up to Kelsey in the morning. The next morning I woke up and everything was back to normal. I could hear the boys playing in the living room and smelled bacon and eggs as Kelsey cooked breakfast. I got up and walked out with a smile as I remembered their little joke from the night before. "Good morning, pranksters," I said with a laugh. They all stared at me with a confused look on their faces. "Hey," my wife finally said, "last night, all of you standing in the hallway smiling at me. Gotta admit it was a good one. Creeped me out a little bit," I said, shaking my head. "Ryan, don't even joke like that. You know those creepy smiling people stories freak me out," Kelsey scolded. "Hey, you're the one trying to freak me out in the middle of the night." I laughed. "By the way, how in the hell did you get the phones to stop time at 1:09? That was a good touch." My whole family was looking at me like I was a nut job. Then simultaneously they all started shouting it wasn't funny and that I was scaring them. I was bewildered. I didn't know if they were still in on the joke, or if somehow they had all been sleepwalking. That wouldn't explain the time though. Okay, I shouted. "I must have been having a damn dream, Jesus Christ. Don't freak out on me, damn." I turned and walked back into the room more confused than ever. I knew I wasn't dreaming. Were they this serious about their little prank, or did they really not remember? Either way, I figured I'd settle it that night. I'd simply record them with my phone if they tried it again. That'd ruin their little joke pretty quick. Satisfied with my plan, I went about my day. The boys helped split and stack more wood, while Kelsey did some running in town. Before I knew it, it was nighttime again, and we were all in bed. I made sure to have my phone charged and right next to me, ready to catch them in the act. Once again I woke up hours later. That same eerie silence filled the house. This time my adrenaline started pumping as the feeling of dread hit me like a ton of bricks. I grabbed my phone and lit the screen up. 1:09 a.m. I tried to switch it to record, but my phone was frozen. "Fuck," I yelled. I looked over to the hall and seen the same shadows as the night before. This time, a little closer. My blood ran cold as I noticed out of the corner of my eye that the TV was left on, but the picture was froze. It seemed all electronics were froze or something, adding to the creepy feeling that engulfed my body. I got up once again, and tiptoed to the door. I peeked my head around and had to cover my mouth to stifle a yelp. Kelsey and the boys were standing facing me directly this time, only somehow their smiles even bigger than before. Now that they were a good 5 feet closer, I could see just how wide open and bloodshot their eyes were. When I moved my hand to cover my mouth, all three of them took a giant step forward. Naturally, I took a step back. They mimicked with another huge step forward. This time, since Kelsey was bigger than the boys, she stepped ahead. She was now maybe 3-5 feet away, her eyes opening even wider, as she looked extremely excited. I turned around to jump back in bed, and as I did so I heard loud booming as they gave chase. I felt huge blows hit my back, far harder than any of them should be able to inflict. What the fuck? Ow! I shouted as my back ached from the impact. I was now in bed and I yanked the covers over my head. Childish, I know, but hey, I wasn't about to strike my wife. Thankfully, as I laid still, the blows stopped and I heard heavy breathing from what I assumed was Kelsey, only it sounded way too deep and raspy. Then the breathing stopped altogether and silence filled the room. "I know you're not asleep," she whispered so fast I barely made out what she said. Just then the beeping of the microwave filled the house, and the TV resumed. I heard the sound of soft footsteps leave the room as the boys went back to their rooms, followed by pressure next to me in bed as Kelsey climbed back under the covers. I quickly grabbed my phone and checked the time. 1:10 a.m. This didn't make any fucking sense. I did my best to go back to sleep, but needless to say, I didn't sleep much. I tossed and turned as I tried to figure out what in the hell was happening. I tried to figure out what steps to take next. The only thing I could think of was to pretend I was asleep next time, since my lack of movement seemed to stop the blows. If they thought I was asleep altogether, maybe they'd just stand creepily in the hallway. It was worth a shot, I guess.